Hello! I'm super excited to start this course with you, but as always, before we do, we need to see where we're starting and where we're ending up so we have a clear path to succeeding. So let's see what this course will look like for you. We're first going to start off with creating our hacking lab. Now don't worry, whether you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux, you're going to be able to follow, because what we'll do is use something called a virtual machine to install Kali Linux, which is often used with ethical hacking, onto our machine so that we can simulate and create our hacking environment. Don't worry, all the tools we're going to use is free, and you're going to be able to set up your computer in a way to follow the rest of the course. And you're also going to have a professional setup. We're also going to cover some basics on hacking, some fundamentals and principles that's going to set us up for success later on in the course. Then we have an optional part. For those that really want to get into programming as well and possibly programming some of our projects later on in the course, we're going to teach you Python from scratch, or if you know Python already, as a refresher, so that you can also learn an extra pair of skill set for some harder projects that we have in the course. Then we get into the fun part. And the first step we're going to dive into after we have our hacking lab and some of our programming skills sharp is reconnaissance. Here is where we learn what we call footprinting, or in other words, information gathering. Once we choose our target, our first task is to gain as much information about the target as possible. We're going to talk about IP addresses, about the Whois tool, the WhatWeb stealth scan, finding usernames, building an email scraper tool, and other tools available to us to gather as much information as possible. From there, we go into scanning, and this is where things get real. In this section, we gather information on some of the technical information that we can acquire from a target. For example, if they have open ports, if they have a firewall, what software they're running on these ports, and if they have any outdated operating systems. And don't worry, if you don't know what any of this means, we take you from scratch and you're going to learn it all. Here is where we learn about TCP, UDP, using the powerful Nmap tool, different types of scans that we can do, how to work with firewalls, using decoys and packet fragmentation. And we're also going to build a port scanner project in this section. From there, we go into vulnerability analysis. In this section, we use the information that we gathered from the previous sections, and with this information, we try to determine whether there is a known vulnerability that we can take advantage of. We're going to use different sorts of tools to learn about our target system and where their weaknesses are. We're actually going to work on a Windows 7 machine that has a vulnerability and show how we can break into it and how we can use that to our advantage. Then, well, this is the exciting part. This is the big part of the course. This is where we attack and gain access to the target machines. And throughout this session, we'll be covering many different vulnerabilities and different targets. We perform different sorts of attacks on virtual machines and cover a very important tool of an ethical hacker, that is the Metasploit framework. The goal of exploitation is to get on a target machine. So this means we must drop a payload on that target machine so we can use it to navigate through their systems, look through their files, execute anything we want, even delete anything we want without the target knowing anything about it. We'll learn to create our own viruses and Trojans that we can deliver to the target, whether through an email or through a USB. This is a big section, and we're going to dive into the weeds, try out these techniques, and learn how to defend against them. After that, we have what we call the post-exploitation. This, as the name suggests, is what we do after we exploit a target. Since we're on that machine, we can do many things depending on what we want to get out from it. At the end, after we do all the things we wanted by exploiting the target, we want to make sure we cover our tracks by deleting any event logs or deleting any evidence that we were ever on that machine. We're going to learn lots of things here, such as creating persistence on a target machine and even creating a backdoor in one of our projects. We then get into a very important part that a lot of you might find very, very interesting, and that is website penetration testing. This is a big topic for an ethical hacker, and in this section, we're mainly targeting websites and their bugs and vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities can be anything from misconfigurations, SQL injections, information disclosures, command ejections, cross-site scripting attacks. And we're also going to code our own and create our own project, a login brute force script, and also a directory discovery tool. Again, in this section, you're going to learn how to use these techniques and therefore defend against them on your own website or a client's website. Then we get into something that you have to know as an ethical hacker. It's the man-in-the-middle attack. This is an attack that is used inside a network, and this allows us to sniff any unencrypted data and see it in plain text. So we could use this technique to see passwords for some websites. And we're going to cover some of the main tools that hackers use when doing a man-in-the-middle attack. We then have a bonus section on Wi-Fi and wireless cracking. This is the section where we want to gain access to a network by cracking its wireless password. And we're going to talk about things like AirCrack password cracking and Hashcat password cracking, and show you how you might use this and how it
make you a master in ethical hacking. But wait a second. We just started the course and I'm already talking about being a master in ethical hacking. Let's slow down a little bit. What even is ethical hacking? And what does an ethical hacker do? Or you might also wonder, can I get in trouble by doing this? Don't worry. Remember, we are ethical hackers. This means we are hired to hack into a network or a device, or in general, we want to find as many vulnerabilities inside the target system, but not to do bad things. Quite opposite, we want to secure them. An ethical hacker who is hired to find as many vulnerabilities in a certain system is also known as a white hat hacker. Now, I mentioned a word system quite a few times by now. What do I mean by finding vulnerabilities in a system? Well, system can be anything. It can be a network of multiple computers, or it could be just one single computer. It could also be some company's server that they keep their important data on. We could also be targeting a web page or a website. A vulnerability, on the other hand, is anything that could allow someone to have an unauthorized access to that system. We are there to discover them and secure them. But why are we doing this? Well, as you know, there are the bad guys, or also known as black hat hackers. Their goal is also to find vulnerabilities in a system, but not to secure them. Instead, they want to perform malicious activity once they gain access to that system. That is the difference between a white hat hacker and a black hat hacker. A white hat hacker is there to find vulnerability, notify the person that hired him, and let him know of a possible unauthorized access. You can think of us as a cyber police. We are there to protect. A black hat hacker, on the other hand, is there to perform malicious activity such as stealing your data. They could also try to steal your online money. They could install a virus or a keylogger on your PC and track everything that you do. They can go as far as doing something like stealing your identity. However, the methods white hat and black hat hackers use can be quite similar. The difference is we as white hat hackers must make sure that we have a permission to target a certain system. An example would go like this. We get hired by a certain company. That company could have a website, different networks with computers inside the building where, for example, employees work. It could also have large servers and databases holding important company data. And as we already know, our goal is to make sure that data is secured from cyber attacks, that also employees and their machines are also in a secure network, and that website doesn't have any bugs that could present a threat to that company. How do we do all of this? Well, we do it by attacking the company. We act as a black hat hacker would, but with a different goal. Okay, but here we come to another problem. You might be wondering, well, how am I going to learn this? Or how am I going to practice this? I just said that we need a permission to attack any system, right? Well, don't worry. we will simulate all of these targets with the help of our home devices, and also with the help of virtual machines. It will be exactly the same, just this way you won't be breaking any law while you practice, since the targets that you will attack will be yours. Okay, more about virtual machines later. Right now I want to give you a small challenge. One of the biggest online cyber attacks is something called phishing. In most cases, phishing is an act of black hat hackers tricking you into entering some of your private data, such as usernames and passwords, into a web page that isn't to be trusted. This is one of the ways how they steal online accounts. Let me show you. Here I have two Twitter login pages. One of these two that you can see right here is a fake login page, and the other one is real. Let's take a quick look at them. So let's take a look at the first one. Here it is. And if we take a look at the second one, they appear to be exactly the same, right? Have you figured out which one is real and which one is fake? The first one that we saw is the fake login page, while the second one right here is real one. Let's mention some of the obvious reasons why this page right here that you're looking at is a fake login page that can be used to steal your account. Even though they are identical at first glance, if we take a closer look, we can see it doesn't really have twitter.com as the website name. Instead, we have some random IP address in our search tab, and this is the biggest indication that this page is indeed a fake page and that you shouldn't enter any private information here. The original page should be twitter.com. Another thing we can notice is that next to the website name, on a real page, we have this green lock right here. And this green lock indicates that this is an HTTPS page, or in other words, it is secured, as it says right here, secure connection. Usually phishing websites won't be HTTPS and they won't have this green lock right here. However, these two can be forged in a more advanced phishing attack. And just to compare, our fake login page doesn't have this green lock. If we click right here, it says connection is not secure. And even though many of you probably knew these things already, if you were in a hurry and you got redirected to this fake login page, you could potentially enter your password here, and little do you know, in just a few seconds, your account has been compromised and stolen by the bad guys, since the information that you enter right here on this page gets sent to them and not to twitter.com. But don't worry if you aren't familiar with these type of attacks. Throughout the course, we will learn not only how to secure ourselves from these attacks and how these attacks work, but also we will learn how to perform the attacks themselves. And by the way, we also have a Discord channel where we answer your questions, so if you haven't already, feel free to come and join us in Discord, since that is where we notify everyone about any new course updates that will come out, and that is also where you can reach out to us in case you run into any problem during the course. Nonetheless, I welcome you once again, and let's get straight into the course.